The sun cuts through the window of the spare bedroom, illuminating what feels less like a room and more like a tomb for a life already lived. Carol stands in the doorway, her hand resting on the cool wood of the frame. It was her son's room, then her sewing room, and now this, a fortress of boxes stacked shoulder high, a fortress built of memories and indecision. Her late husband's old projects are in one corner, baby clothes in another. Each box is a question she can't answer. A quiet, suffocating anxiety tightens in her chest. It's not laziness that keeps this door closed. It's the paralyzing weight of 1,000 past moments, each one demanding a verdict. The question isn't just, where would I even begin? It's the deeper, unspoken fear. Who am I if I let these things go? This feeling, this paralysis, is the silent battle being fought in millions of homes. But this battle isn't about the past. It's about protecting your future. To her children on the phone, Carol's voice is steady, reassuring. Everything's fine, dear, just keeping busy. But after she hangs up, the silence of the house rushes back in, and the truth settles heavily in the air. The truth is, in the narrow pathway she navigates through the living room. It's in the dining room table, buried under a sea of unopened mail and forgotten projects, a space that hasn't seen a guest in years. This isn't living, it's managing. A constant, low-level stress that drains the color from her days. Her pride, her fierce independence, is what stops her from asking for help. She fears that one call to her son will trigger the conversation she dreads, the one about her not being able to cope, about selling the house, about being managed. The ultimate fear, however, is not for herself. It's the image of her children, years from now, standing in this exact spot, overwhelmed and forced to guess what mattered. That is the real consequence of waiting, your story being told by someone else. The silence in the house is a living thing, and it has a texture. It's the dusty film on the lid of a container filled with her mother's old buttons. It's the brittle feel of a newspaper from the day her husband retired, folded neatly, but never put away. These aren't just things. They are anchors to a life that feels more real than the one she is living now. To move the box of his old woodworking tools is to admit he will never finish that final project. To sort through the children's report cards is to accept that the frantic, vibrant energy of their youth is now just a paper-thin memory. The paralysis isn't physical. It's the profound exhaustion of standing trial, where every teacup and forgotten sweater is a piece of evidence, and she is both the judge and the defendant. Letting go feels less like cleaning and more like erasing a part of her soul. Her hand hovers over the phone, the thought of calling her daughter a fleeting temptation. But the script that plays out in her mind always ends the same way. The initial, "Of course, Mom, we can help," would slowly curdle into concerned whispers between siblings. It would become, "We need to do something about the house," which is code for, "We need to do something about her." Her fierce independence, the very trait she was so proud of, has now become her own private cage. She built this life, managed this home, and raised a family within these walls. To admit defeat over a few crowded rooms feels like the first domino to fall, leading inevitably to a loss of control over her own story. So the clutter remains her secret ally, a silent, messy shield protecting her from the dreaded conversation where she becomes a project to be managed instead of the matriarch to be respected. Every closed door in her home leads to a room full of postponed decisions. The spare bedroom isn't just full of boxes, it's full of unmade choices about who she used to be. The garage isn't just cluttered with her husband's old equipment. It's a monument to her inability to close that chapter. The house has become a physical ledger of her emotional procrastination. Each stack of mail, each pile of clothes she might wear one day is a testament to a life lived in the past tense. This is the true conflict, the one that happens in the quiet of the afternoon. It's not about finding the right container or a better labeling system. It's about confronting the person who has let the past consume the present. The real mess isn't the objects, but the tangled web of guilt, fear, and nostalgia they represent. The house is waiting for a verdict. The moment of change didn't arrive with a grand revelation, but with the quiet slip of a cardboard box. Reaching for an old photo album on the top shelf of the closet, Carol's foot caught the edge of a stack of magazines she'd meant to sort for years. For a split second, the world tilted. Her hand shot out, bracing against the doorframe, her heart hammering against her ribs. The fall didn't happen, but the possibility of it echoed in the sudden, sharp silence. In that rush of adrenaline, the clutter was no longer a passive collection of memories. It was an active threat. It was a broken hip. It was a call to a worried son hundreds of miles away. It was the beginning of the end of her independence, the question that had been a whisper for years. What if something happens? Was now a shout. The house was no longer her sanctuary. It had become the very thing that could take her from it, and the paralysis of nostalgia finally fractured under the weight of a far greater fear. Standing there, her breath slowly returning to normal, Carol felt a profound shift. The exhaustion of indecision was suddenly replaced by the sharp clarity of purpose. This wasn't about her mother's china or her husband's books anymore. This was about the dignity of choice. The real question wasn't what to keep, but who would get to decide. Her now, while she was strong and her mind was clear. Or her children, later, grieving and guessing, forced to sift through a life they had to interpret. The thought was unbearable. Inaction, she realized, was the most reckless choice of all. She needed a plan, not a vague intention. A strategy, not a weekend project, a lifeline. There had to be a way to dismantle this fortress of the past without destroying the memories it protected. A series of deliberate, manageable steps to reclaim her space, her safety, and her story. The time for postponement was over. The future was waiting, and it would start not with a grand purge, but with a single conscious decision. The first step is not to tackle the mountain, but to reclaim a single hill. We call this Step 1, the Visibility Reset Rule. The paralysis you feel is not a weakness. It is a logical response to an overwhelming task. Looking at a room filled with a lifetime of possessions is like looking at an ocean and being told to empty it with a cup. So you don't. You close the door. The visibility reset rule bypasses this paralysis by changing the goal. Your objective is not to clean the whole room. Your objective for the next 60 minutes is to clear one single horizontal surface. It could be the dining room table, the kitchen counter, or the top of a dresser. By focusing on one small, highly visible area, you achieve an immediate and undeniable victory. Ignoring this rule means you remain a prisoner of the big picture, forever waiting for a surge of energy that will never come. But by clearing one surface, you create an island of calm in a sea of chaos. It's a visual proof of concept. It tells your tired mind, this is possible, I did this. That feeling of control is the fuel for everything that comes next. Now we must address the heart of the matter, the items that hold your history hostage. This is step 2, the memory without the object method. We are conditioned to believe that the object and the memory are the same thing. To let go of your mother's chipped teacup is to let go of your mother. This is the lie that keeps us buried. This method allows you to separate the love from the liability. For each sentimental item that doesn't serve your current life, you perform a simple ritual. You take a beautiful, clear photograph of it. On the back or in a dedicated journal, you write its story. Who gave it to you? What does it make you remember? What feeling does it hold? You are not discarding the memory. You are archiving it. You are creating a legacy album, a concentrated collection of your most cherished stories, free from the dust and the weight. To refuse this is to sentence your memories to a life in a dark box. To embrace it is to become the curator of your story, preserving the meaning in a way that is light, accessible, and beautiful. The next step is not emotional. It is an act of urgent self-preservation. This is step 3, the safety first sweep. Before you decide on a single photograph or piece of china, you must make your home a place that protects you, not one that endangers you. Your independence is directly tied to your physical safety. This step is a non-negotiable audit of your environment. You will walk through every room with one question in mind. What here could cause a fall? This means clearing every pathway, removing stacks of magazines from the floor, securing loose rugs, ensuring there is a clear, well-lit path from your bed to the bathroom. Ignoring this is to gamble with the one thing you cannot afford to lose, your ability to live safely in your own home. It's the difference between a comfortable evening and a life-altering accident. After we cover these crucial safety issues and establish a foundation of physical security, I'll show you how to handle the most difficult items of all, the purely sentimental ones, without a trace of guilt, using a system that honors your past while securing your future. Finally, we must dismantle the engine that powers the clutter, indecision. This is step 4, the one decision system. How many times have you picked something up, looked at it, and put it back down in a different pile? This is the cycle of shuffling, not sorting. The maybe pile is the most dangerous place in your home. It's a physical manifestation of procrastination. The one decision system is the antidote. From now on, when you pick up an item, you make its final decision right then. It has only 3 possible destinations. Its permanent home, if you are keeping it, the donation box, or the trash bag. You touch it once. This is difficult because it forces you to confront the small anxieties you've been avoiding. But the consequence of not doing this is a state of perpetual sorting, a constant drain on your mental energy. By making one firm decision at a time, you stop the churn. You reclaim your focus. Take a moment and think, what is the one decision about your home you have been postponing the longest? That is the item where this system must begin. You've cleared a path. You've made a few hard choices. But now you hit the wall. This is the real resistance. It's not about the chair from your first apartment or the box of your husband's old sweaters. It's about the sudden, hollow feeling that comes with the space you've created. It's the voice that whispers, if you get rid of this, you're getting rid of him. This is the moment the process stops being about tidying and starts being about grief, regret, and the fear of forgetting. You are not weak for feeling this. You are human. The objects have become tangled with your identity, and the thought of letting them go feels like erasing a part of your own history. The guilt of parting with a gift, the ache of a memory. This is the emotional clutter, and it is far heavier than any physical box. This is where most people give up, defeated not by the mess, but by the meaning. But this is also where the true work begins. This emotional deadlock requires a different kind of tool, one that honors the past instead of discarding it. This is Step 5, the Legacy Clarity Step. This final crucial step reframes the entire mission. You are going to stop asking, "Can I bear to part with this?" and start asking a more powerful question. Is this part of the legacy I want to intentionally leave behind? You are not an archivist of everything you've ever touched. You are the curator of your own story. A curator doesn't keep everything. They select the most powerful, beautiful, and representative pieces that tell the truest story. This step gives you the authority to decide what that story is. That set of china you never liked but felt obligated to keep, it doesn't make the cut. But the single handwritten recipe from your mother, that is a centerpiece of your legacy. This isn't about loss. It's about intentional preservation. It's about choosing your narrative. Applying this final step is the moment of profound liberation. The fear of emptiness is replaced by the power of purpose. You are no longer a passive guardian of the past. You are the active architect of your future. The space that opens up in your home is no longer a void of what's been lost, but a canvas for the life you still intend to live. It's a room for your hobby, a table for a friend, a clear path to the window to watch the sunrise without obstruction. By choosing what represents your legacy, you release yourself from the burden of everything else. The house ceases to be a museum of who you were and becomes a home for who you are right now. This is the ultimate act of self-respect. It's the final quiet declaration that your story is not over, and you alone will be the one to decide how the next chapter is written. This was never just about your things. It has always been about your life. As the weeks pass, a new kind of silence settles over the house. It's not the heavy, dusty silence of before, but a clean, resonant quiet filled with possibility. Standing in the spare room, now bathed in the clear afternoon light, Carol feels not a sense of loss, but of profound expansion. She realizes the memories were never in the objects themselves. They were always inside her. The boxes were not protectors of her past, but cages for her present. By letting them go, she hadn't erased her history. She had liberated it from the clutter. She is no longer the tired guardian of 1,000 forgotten things. She is the conscious author of her own story, a woman who has looked at her life, all of it, and decided with clarity and courage what matters most. The feeling is not one of emptiness, but of lightness. The house breathes again, and for the first time in years, so does she. This organized space is a direct reflection of her own mind, clear, ordered, and ready for what comes next. This transformation solidifies into a new, quiet confidence. The fear of her children's judgment has been replaced by the pride of her own decisiveness. The cleared dining table, once a monument to procrastination, now holds a vase of fresh flowers and an open book. It is a space of invitation, not apology. This process was never about cleaning. It was a declaration of self-worth. It was her saying that her life, right now, is more important than the relics of a life already lived. The greatest freedom, she understands, is the one she has given her children. The gift of not having to guess, of not having to sift through a lifetime of possessions while grieving. She has taken that burden from their shoulders, and in doing so, has secured her own dignity. The house is no longer a problem to be solved or a secret to be kept. It is simply her home, a place of peace and strength, a launching pad for the next unwritten chapter of her life. The sun now fills the spare room not as an intruder highlighting dust, but as a welcome guest. The silence in the house has changed its nature. It is no longer the heavy, suffocating quiet of postponement, but a clean, resonant calm that holds the promise of a new day. Standing in the middle of the room, Carol feels a sense of profound expansion, not loss. The space around her is not an emptiness where things used to be. It is a landscape of pure potential. She realizes with startling clarity that the memories were never trapped in the objects. They were inside her all along, vibrant and alive. The boxes were not protectors of her past, but cages for her present. By letting them go, she hadn't erased her history. She had liberated it from the clutter. She breathes in deeply, and for the first time in what feels like a decade, the air itself feels lighter, newer, and full of oxygen for the life she has yet to live. This process has quietly forged a new identity. She is no longer the tired, overwhelmed guardian of 1,000 forgotten things. She has become the conscious author of her own story, a woman who has looked at her life, all of it, and decided with courage and clarity what truly matters. The weight was never in the physical objects, but in the indecision they represented. Each choice she made was an act of reclaiming her own narrative, of separating the love from the liability. The woman who stood paralyzed in this doorway weeks ago is not the same woman who stands here now. That woman was defined by the past, anchored by the fear of forgetting. This woman is defined by her intention, guided by a clear vision for her future. She feels not a sense of finality, but of a powerful and long overdue beginning. Her story is not over. It has simply turned to a fresh, clean page. The fear of her children's judgment, that quiet dread of being seen as incapable, has evaporated. It has been replaced by a deep, unshakable pride in her own decisiveness. The cleared dining room table, once a monument to procrastination and a source of quiet shame, now holds a single vase of fresh flowers and the book she is currently reading. It is a space of invitation, not apology. When her son calls, her voice has a new steadiness, a confidence that comes not from pretending everything is fine, but from knowing it truly is. She no longer fears the conversation about her future because she is the one actively designing it. She has taken control of the narrative. This transformation was not about impressing them or anyone else. It was a private declaration of self-worth, a testament to her own strength and resilience. She is not a project to be managed. She is the matriarch of her family, in full command of her life and her home. The greatest freedom she has secured is not even her own. It is the one she has given to her children, the profound gift of clarity. She pictures them years from now, and the image is no longer one of stress and confusion. She has taken away the burden of having to guess, of being forced to sift through a lifetime of possessions while navigating their own grief. She has spared them the emotional labor of interpreting her life through a mountain of unfiltered objects. By curating her own legacy, she has ensured her story will be told with intention, not through a chaotic archaeological dig. This, she realizes, is the ultimate act of love and the final pillar of her independence. She has protected their peace of mind, and in doing so has fiercely protected her own dignity. Her life will not end as a question mark. It will be a statement of purpose, clear and complete. Her home has ceased to be a museum of who she was and has become the workshop for who she is right now. The space that has opened up is no longer a void of what's been lost, but a canvas for the life she still intends to live. The corner of the living room where boxes once stood is now home to an easel and a set of paints she bought years ago and never used. The spare room is being transformed into a quiet space for her yoga mat and her books, a sanctuary for her own well-being. The house is no longer a passive container for the past. It is an active tool for her present and future. It serves her, not the other way around. This is the tangible result of her decisions, a physical environment that supports her vitality, her creativity, and her peace. The house breathes again, and it breathes in rhythm with her own renewed sense of purpose. Let us be perfectly clear. This process was never truly about cleaning your house. It was a strategic mission to protect your autonomy. It was a declaration that your life right now is more important than the relics of a life already lived. Every item you decided on was a vote for your own future. You were not getting rid of things. You were getting rid of the weight, the guilt, and the paralysis that held you captive. You were choosing safety over sentimentality, clarity over chaos, and dignity over dependence. This is the ultimate act of self-respect, the final quiet assertion that your story is not over. You and you alone are the one who will decide how this next vibrant chapter is written. This was never just about your possessions. It has always been and will always be about your life. Your home is waiting for its next chapter, and so are you. The story of what comes next is not written in the boxes in the attic or the clutter in the closet. It is waiting to be written by you today. The feeling of being overwhelmed is not a life sentence. It is a temporary state that can be broken by a single deliberate action. You have the wisdom, you have the strength, and now you have the tools. You are not the person who is stuck. You are the person who is about to begin. Your future doesn't start someday when you have more energy or more time. It starts the moment you decide it does. It starts with one surface, with one decision, in one room. The lightness you desire is not a distant dream. It is on the other side of that choice. Your next chapter is waiting. Open the door.